Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Hardcore Survival Guide. This is episode 3, Let's Craft a Spyglass. So new to 1.17, the Spyglass is crafted from 2 copper ingots and 1 amethyst shard. It's a very cheap recipe and you won't ever really need to craft one again. The Spyglass is basically a zoom feature in vanilla Minecraft. It's kind of the equivalent of Optifine zoom for those who've been using Optifine, but the cool thing is, even with Optifine in pre-releases, you can of course still use the Spyglass, meaning that we can zoom in twice as far. And if we end up increasing our field of view to 30, you can zoom in incredibly far indeed, and then your sensitivity ends up being super high. But if you want to espy this cow in the distance, really close up, yeah, you can do that. It gets a little bit finicky, but you can do it. So that's the Spyglass. Not entirely sure how often we'll be using it, but there we go. I love the fact that this copper block is aging fairly fast as far as I can tell. We will probably do a bit more with copper later in this episode, but the first thing I want to do is grab a ton of the iron that we've been smelting, the iron that we got from caving the other day, and we're going to trade a bunch of this to villagers. Yes, the entire reason that I was getting a bunch of iron from caving the other day is so that we could trade it with our weaponsmith and toolsmith to upgrade them. And I do need to go and find the armorer who is lurking in one of those houses over there. I think that's where his workstation is. But yeah, now that we have this trade, iron is one of those trades that, because it's a precious resource, always has a pretty decent amount of XP, which means that once we trade it a few more times, we get a few emeralds out of the bargain as well. This weaponsmith is almost leveled up as far as expert, and expert is when he starts trading some of the enchanted tools, and I think at master tier he should get some diamond tools as well, meaning we can get a diamond axe and a sword from him for very cheap prices and possibly pre-enchanted. We're going to do the same thing with the toolsmith, trading him a bunch of the iron that I've already gathered. And you might be thinking that's kind of a waste of iron, but remember, iron is a renewable resource. You can farm it very easily, and now that we have Fortune 3, we're getting the most out of the iron ore blocks from this area. I think it's perfectly fine if we use a lot of this iron to trade with. Of course, at this point, the blast furnaces can absolutely tear through it, and we're probably going to make some kind of super smelter to deal with the amount of raw resources we're going to bring back from caving trips, because I want a ton of copper, I want a ton of iron. We're actually going to craft up some of these copper blocks now, just to get them out in the open and start them aging, because today we're hopefully going to find a way to combat the aging process by getting together some sort of honeycomb farm. That's right, it turns out the secret to anti-aging was honeycomb the whole time. Right, this toolsmith is now trading us diamond hoes, which we will absolutely take, because like the stone hoes earlier, we can use them to cut down leaves, except with a diamond hoe it's instant. I think iron also is instant, or maybe you need a low-level enchant on iron for that, but this way we can break a ton of leaves very fast without even needing an efficiency enchantment. We could also, if we wanted to, take this diamond hoe over to our enchanting setup and potentially get an efficiency enchantment, or silk touch or fortune. We could also trade Fortune 3 from the villager in the town, and that way we'd be guaranteed a good return on any dark oak saplings or jungle saplings that we wanted in large quantities. The spruce generates a ton of leaves and is otherwise fine for dropping saplings, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But at this point, the name of the game is waiting for that iron to smelt and also trading with Fletchers so that we can afford whatever diamond tools and armor the other blacksmiths give us. So I'll be back in a second or two once I've done a bit more trading. Now you're talking. For 19 emeralds, we can get an efficiency 3, unbreaking 3 diamond shovel to replace this old clunker of a stone shovel that we've had for a little while. We'll take that from you, and then hopefully he'll also have a diamond pickaxe trade for his master tier trade. You'll notice I bought a few diamond hoes. We are actually going to be using a fair amount of those for gathering leaves and wart blocks and all kinds of other stuff a little bit later. A diamond hoe or a netherite hoe is basically a more powerful set of shears when all is said and done, and if I turn on advanced tooltips with F3 and H, you'll see that, yeah, 1500 durability. That's going to be a little bit more than the average set of shears. Once you have silk touch on a hoe, it's basically what you use to take down leaves. So our suite of diamond tools is expanding by the minute, and this guy is now trading me an unbreaking 1 diamond axe for 13 emeralds. So if I trade a little bit more iron to him, we're 1 emerald short. Okay, let's go and visit the Fletcher again. Oh, that's happened, yes. The Fletcher's trades are now through the roof because of how much we've been using this stick trade. The supply and demand mechanics of the village have led him to up his prices and maybe even decrease them on a couple of other things. So if we got some string to farm or anything like that, then potentially we could keep trading with him. The way to avoid this happening, or at least the way to make sure that his prices go back down again, is just to not trade with him for a few days. And eventually those prices will lower back to their base rate, and once you start trading sticks with him again, you might get a discount for a few trades here and there. There we go, a couple more iron trades. We'll take this guy from expert to master, and hopefully at that point he should be trading us a lovely diamond sword. Yes, there we go, sharpness 2, knockback, and fire aspect. 17 emeralds for that one. I'm going to buy the axe first, and we'll end up getting the sword later. But that's a pretty good sword to start off with. At least it didn't have Bane of Arthropods or Smite or something. We've been using an axe as our weapon since early game. A stone axe has the same attack damage as an iron axe or a diamond axe, and of course you can enchant those with sharpness if you want truly devastating damage. But at diamond tier is sort of where the sword starts to take over again as the best tool to have, because of sweeping edge, being able to attack multiple targets at once, and the other enchantments like looting kind of make it a little bit superior to axes in my opinion. It has a faster attack speed than an axe, even though a diamond or netherite axe might have a slightly faster attack speed than the stone or iron ones. It's kind of down to personal preference. If you don't want to carry a sword and an axe, then you can do your chopping of both trees and mobs with an axe, but personally, I like to diversify my toolset and bring a sword with me just for the added benefits of sweeping edge and looting. I'm pretty sure this house on the outskirts of town is where we find the armorer, but it looks like you can't pathfind to his workstation because of the geometry of the house. So let me open that up a little bit, and hopefully he'll be able to pair to the blast furnace, or we might actually move the blast furnace closer to the center of town. I'm using these to smelt my resources anyway, so yeah, it looks like he's following me. Go, where have you taken my workstation? He might pathfind back towards the center of the village in a moment, but in the meantime, in order to get him over there and guarantee that he's going to pair to that workstation, I'm going to put him in a boat. It's actually fairly easy to get most mobs into boats if they are of the right sort of size. You won't be able to put a ravager or a slime or anything in a boat, but villagers are nice and easy, and all you need to do is just row them over land a little bit until they get closer towards the center here, and hopefully once he's out of the boat, he should pick up that workstation. It's also now possible to make these path blocks out of dirt as well as grass. They're no longer grass path, they are technically dirt path now, meaning that if you end up with a path like this and there's a bunch of dirt blocks generating in between, I think the same goes for coarse dirt, maybe even mycelium as well, you're able to flatten them out without having to revert them back to grass, which is great. So now the villager seems to be fixated on the center of the village. We're going to be very carefully use an axe to get him out of the boat like so. And now he should be wandering off towards that workstation. Remember not to use a sword when you're getting villagers out of boats, because the sweep attack will mean that you end up hitting the villager and the boat at the same time. Unless you do a jumping attack where you can only target one thing, you're pretty much guaranteed to hit both the villager and the boat. So this guy's now an armorer. Looks like he's trading us some easy iron gear, which we might be able to re-roll for some better trades. Ideally, we want something that we can, yes, there we go, a coal trade or something like that, that we can trade something fairly easy to acquire for emeralds. That way we can gain emeralds and not just lose them. I'm hoping for a fairly cheap armor trade, though, which is why I keep re-rolling his trades. I want something like a helmet and not a chest plate accompanying a coal trade, and that is my preferred setup for an armorer. There we go, coal and boots. That's pretty much ideal, because the boots are really cheap. They're the cheapest item that he's going to trade for, and the coal is going to be relatively easy to acquire. We brought a ton of it back from our fortune caving trip. So let's lock in the armorer's professions with a couple of quick coal trades. Let's buy the iron boots off of him, and those go nicely with the ones I already have. And once we get past the novice and journeyman level with him, he's going to start trading us a ton of diamond armor, and that's really the end game for this episode. I really want us to have a full set of diamond, so that we can investigate that dangerous cave in the village and hopefully clear that out. And let's see what the toolsmith's final trade is. We've traded a bit more iron to him. Efficiency 2, unbreaking 2, diamond pickaxe. A little bit pricey, but we can obviously deal with that a little bit later, and we'll do a few more iron trades with him until that one locks up. While it's a 3 ingot trade, is worth having. Now he's going to trade us unlimited diamond pickaxes as well, so that's pretty ideal. And now, thanks to all this villager trading and a little bit of XP from the caving trip, we have 33 levels. So what we're going to start doing is getting the enchantments off some of the stuff that has low-level enchantments we've traded from these villagers, like the unbreaking 1 axe here. We're going to grindstone that off, get a tiny amount of experience back from it, and then dig out the lapis that we brought back from our caving trip and take that straight to the enchantment table. Because at level 30, the enchantment table should give us basically the top tier enchantment we can get on this. There we go, we got Fortune 3, we got our Enchanter advancement there as well. Fortune 3 is not going to be so useful on an axe, but we could always use it in a pinch for the occasional bonus sapling. I'm actually really happy with the shovel enchantment, and the diamond pickaxe I want to keep Fortune 3 on until we can combine it with a diamond pickaxe from the toolsmith for extra efficiency and unbreaking. So realistically now, it's all just down to getting the sword from the weaponsmith and getting some decent trades out of the armorer. Well, the armorer turned out to be the most awkward dude ever, primarily because he didn't end up with an iron trade. Instead, he wanted a lava bucket for an emerald or a diamond for an emerald. And despite the fact that diamonds are basically free once you have these trades, I really didn't want to give him some of the diamonds that we got from our caving expedition. So instead, I just traded my way up through the leggings, which is why they're so expensive now. But that got us enough XP per trade, and I just smelted them into iron nuggets. Now we have ourselves the diamond Protection 2 Unbreaking 2 leggings, and Projectile Protection 2 boots, which are a little bit cheaper. I'm going to buy one set of those first, and we're getting the achievement for having our first piece of diamond armor. I'm going to potentially actually buy and wear these leggings, but the boots, we can disenchant with the grindstone again, and potentially get a better enchantment from them from the table. And every time we trade with villagers, we're getting more XP. So Protection 3 Unbreaking 3, I am happy with that. We'll put that on the boots for now, and we'll try and trade up for some feather falling a little bit later on. The Fletcher is out of timeout now because his trades are back to normal levels, and he's even offering a little bit of a discount, so he's become my main source of the emeralds at this point. Now we can start trading for things like these leggings, and once we unlock the master trade for this armorer, he's also going to have the other two diamond armor pieces available. We've got a bit of chainmail here as well if you fancy getting some chainmail, but personally I'm not that interested. I think diamond is the way to go. I've also now smelted and crafted all of this copper. This is the entirety of the copper that we brought back from our last caving expedition, which, if you want to use it to build roofs and that kind of stuff, is really not all that much. I'm leaving it out in the world here so the blocks can age like this one here has, and then we'll take a look at the process of preserving copper and even de-aging it, both of which are possible and will allow us to work with the block a little bit more precisely when we want to build with it. At last, I've done enough trading that we can unlock the last tier of the armorer's trades, and they are good ones. It was worth the wait. We have Protection 2 Unbreaking 2 on a diamond chestplate, and just Protection 2 on a helmet. I think the chestplate we will buy straight up, because that's going to be pretty good for early caving. Buy another one, we can combine those like I'm about to do with these diamond leggings. The helmet I think we will buy, disenchant, and then re-enchant on an enchanting table, because that has the potential to give us respiration and aqua affinity, not to mention unbreaking. So overall, I think a pretty good run for the armorer, and I can now start to combine a couple of things. And why am I hearing a zombie near the blacksmith's house? Yeah, I get the sense there's just a dark cavity somewhere underneath here. I don't think the blacksmith is in any trouble. I just need to keep an ear out for things which could potentially disrupt village life here, but there's probably just a cave directly underneath the blacksmith's house, not to worry. We now have a pretty important decision to make, because the enchanting setup over here has provided me with a dilemma. I put an iron pickaxe in just to test after a couple of enchants. I enchanted the hoe with efficiency 4. Now we have Silk Touch. Silk Touch, really, really useful. I do want to get Silk Touch pretty early here. But the bow also gave us Infinity, and Infinity is an enchantment I rely upon so that I never have to worry about arrows again. As long as I've got one in my inventory, I've got as many as I have durability on the bow. So Infinity Unbreaking, the bow is going to last a long time and never run out of arrows. I would like to keep hold of that. However, I really want Silk Touch, and I did just trade a diamond pickaxe from the toolsmith, so we now have one of these. The question is, do we combine it with the fortune pickaxe, or do we end up just enchanting a fresh Silk Touch pickaxe out of the table? After some deliberation, I think we're going to go with Infinity, on account of Silk Touch being a relatively common enchant for a pickaxe. There we go, Powerful Flame Infinity. That's going to be very nice to have, and we'll put Unbreaking on that as soon as we have the opportunity. Let's see what we've still got in the table. Efficiency 4. Okay, not to worry about that, but I think we will probably end up going with Fortune 3 every time we go caving from now on, until we're ready to start amassing ore blocks for just collection and building and that kind of stuff. I think getting resources at this point is going to be more important than saving them that way. We're going to use the remainder of my XP levels here to combine these two sets of diamond leggings for 9, and that is going to be 3/4 of a full suit of diamond protection armor all set up. Now, of course, protection on everything is not necessarily going to go the distance, because there is a cap on how much additional protection the protection enchantment provides. So on one of these pieces of armor, it will be nice if we get blast protection or projectile protection, something that's going to help us against an additional source of damage, a more specialized source of damage. But we're going to be ditching the chest plate later for elytra, so for now, having a decent amount of protection on the other gear is not a bad idea. I did end up recruiting another Fletcher for a few more emeralds, and right now he's in timeout because of having increased his stick trade, and I think the other Fletcher has now maxed out their stick trade as well, so chances are I'm not going to be doing any more emerald trading here for a little while, and that diamond helmet is going to have to wait. So at this point in the video, I'm going to do a live stream where I go caving for resources, gather a little bit more wood, and do some more trading with the villagers. It's all stuff you've seen already. We're probably going to go back to that geode and dismantle it for all of the blocks. We're probably going to do a little bit more caving for iron and any other resources we can acquire. Mostly, I want to get hold of a little bit of copper, but once we get back, we'll talk a little bit about bees and how important they're going to be for this update, and potentially we'll do some other bits and pieces with amethyst. Hey folks, welcome back. So our mining trip was pretty successful, I guess you could say. This is not all what we got from the mining trip. Of course, we had some of the diamonds and stuff beforehand, but we raided 2 geodes, the one that we saw in yesterday's episode and another one that we found, you know, circumstantially in a cave. We've got a ton more copper, we've got a bunch of other resources besides, and I'm starting to stack up some redstone in here as well that we can potentially use for a bit of automation. I'm learning bits and pieces about copper, and from what I understand, based on something Sliced Lime covered in his video about the mechanics of some of the new blocks, copper actually ages slower the more of it there is in an area. So we saw this block age pretty quickly thanks to the fact that it was the only block we placed down here, but in a 9x9x9 area around a copper block, if you place any other copper blocks, then it's going to age slower. So in this case, obviously, we've got a large area that's basically packed with copper blocks right now. It's all going to age pretty slowly, which makes sense, really, because if you have a large roof that's made out of copper, you don't want it all to age immediately. But if we're trying to age copper, we need to make sure that the rest of the blocks around here are going to be separated out. So I guess, weirdly enough, the best way to age copper is going to be to count 4 blocks and then place another block, and count 4 blocks and place another block, and basically space it out like this. And we're going to leave this weird breadcrumb trail of copper throughout the entire landscape, and that's what's going to allow it to age faster, because it's not connected to any of the blocks nearby, in theory. I'm going to be trying this out over the next little while to figure out what the best way is of aging copper, because naturally, if we just want to have a bunch of copper in a machine that's going to auto-detect and automatically wax it to prevent it from aging any further, we're going to need to make that machine fairly close together just to save space. But realistically, I think this could be an interesting way of aging individual blocks of copper if you need to do that. And right there, I mentioned waxing the copper, so let's talk about how we're going to do that. So we're going to acquire the honeycomb from this beehive by putting a campfire under it. We've got to make sure the campfire has at least 1 block of space for smoke particles to travel before it hits the beehive, and then we can shear it so that we can get hold of some honeycomb. We got 3 honeycomb from that. I'm pretty sure it provides 3 every time the hive is full. And so with that, we're going to be able to walk up here, and if I want to preserve this block of copper, boom, we wax it, and there is an advancement for that as well. Perfect. So now this is going to be a waxed oxidized copper, or weathered copper, sorry, oxidized is the final stage, and that is no longer going to age. Now, if we want to scrape the wax off so it continues to age, we get the axe, we right-click it, we get the wax off advancement, and that has now taken the wax off, so when we pick it up again, it will be a single block of weathered copper. Last of all, if we want to scrape some of the patina off so that it reverts a stage back to the exposed copper, that is what we're left with. And finally, if we want to restore it to its former shiny glory, another right click with the axe will turn it back into a regular copper block. And I love the different colored particles for that as well. That's really cool. So we're going to leave these out here. We'll take a look and see if they age a little bit faster. Hopefully we can get some conclusive results from that. And in the meantime, we're going to grab some amethyst shards out of here, and let's see if we can trade some glass from our librarian. Yes, okay, he trades glass. Perfect, perfect. All right, let's grab a ton of that from him, and we should be trading with that guy a lot more if we want some more glass. And it looks like Wow, okay, that copper has been there for less than 5 minutes and is already aged 2 stages, and this one's aged 1 stage. So yeah, if you want copper to age fast, this is definitely the move, I gotta say. Okay, interesting times. So what we need to do is grab a little bit of this, wrap it in Amethyst Shards, which I didn't realize we needed so many Amethyst Shards for this, but at least it gives us 2. We have Tinted Glass. Tinted Glass is going to be really cool to work with, actually. It is a transparent block that does not let light through it, which is really quite interesting. It's basically a solid block that renders as a transparent one. And for the full effect here, we really need to find ourselves a dark space to sit in. So I'm just going to dig a hole real quick. Okay, here's a great example. The sun is basically directly overhead. I'm in a 3-block hole. Now, if I place a tinted glass above myself, total darkness in here. The light level, the block light level on the left-hand side there, 0 skylight, 0 block light. So that is quite phenomenal. And I believe, yes, we can break it and get it back without the use of Silk Touch. So that's going to be kind of useful to have. We are going to be using this in all kinds of mob spawners and stuff like that, but that's why we need the Amethyst Shards. So I think we'll probably end up returning to that geode. See, it's aged another stage already. This is the way, folks. This is the way. All right. So, yeah, we need to return to that geode, farm a few more Amethyst Shards, and probably end up using them for a little bit more tinted glass, because I didn't come away with that many if we need 4 for every 2 blocks of tinted glass, but that's going to be a really fun block to work with. I cannot wait to use it in building to darken some windows, and I think it's going to be really cool to have as a mechanical block in farms as well. We're pretty close to wrapping up the episode here, but I'm pretty close to wrapping up the episode here, but the last thing I want to do is maybe look at some of the enchantments I have on these and see if we can do better. Sharpness 2, while it's a good trade weapon, is probably not going to be... Oh, you're the weaponsmith. I thought you were the grindstone. Excuse me. Sharpness 2 is not going to be the best thing to have on a sword when theoretically we could have Sharpness 3. I mean, I guess. I haven't really checked the sword enchants, but hopefully we'll get something a little bit better. Nope, just Sharpness 3. Okay, I figured that wasn't going to be all that great. Well, I'm going to be spending a little bit of time re-rolling the enchantments on my helmet and the sword here, and potentially we're going to be getting some other tools on the go as well. But I'm pretty happy with the tool set and the armor set we have so far, and hopefully we'll be able to expand on that in future episodes. That's going to be it from me though, folks. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Hardcore Survival Guide, onwards and upwards. And now I'm being chased by an iron golem. My name has been Pixlriffs. Please don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you're enjoying it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.